Alright guys, this is Savage Nate, also known as the GM of the Ravens, and welcome to the 2020 Dynasty Mock Draft for Legacy, for the Legacy League. You guys know this is only my second year into a Dynasty League, so you can take it with a grain of salt, but I thought I'd do a slideshow type presentation with quick excerpts from teams and give it a try, as I also upload this to my YouTube channel just to see how everything works. So without further ado, we'll try and make this quick, and here we go. So, pick number 1, Miami Dolphins. I have them taking Joe Burrow, mostly because they do not have a quarterback. So that kind of made sense to me. If you build around a young quarterback, you have more money to spend on other players. And he's also the only quarterback that we know of that's going to start right away. So that was my thinking there. Next up, we have the Los Angeles Rams, and they are absolutely loaded. It made sense to me. You take the running back who's got the best upside in the class for where he was drafted. With the Chiefs, he should be the lead back and should be a PPR machine with Patrick Mahomes back there. He seemed like the most likely pick, as the Rams were a little light on running backs. So pick number 3, we go to the 49ers. I have them picking Tua. And again, this seemed like just the pick to make, I guess. Last year the quarterbacks went early, and this seems like a good place for them to go. I'm trying to pull up their roster here to see exactly what I was thinking. It looks like, again, they don't have a quarterback, so I was kind of thinking, all right, who's got the next, best chance of starting? And Tua is probably going to be the guy. So that was my reasoning there for the 49ers. Next is the Washington Redskins, and he only has one running back on his roster. So to me, it made sense. Cam Akers isn't the hottest name out there, but he's in line for the most touches, most likely, with the Rams. They didn't seem to be very happy with Henderson last year, so thought that would make sense. Now, the Kansas City Chiefs, I have taking Justin Herbert. Let me pull up the roster again here. This pick kind of made sense to me because he doesn't really have an established running back, or a quarterback, sorry. Tyrod Taylor and Mitchell Trubisky both could lose jobs very early, and so taking Justin Herbert, again, long term, allows him to build around his quarterback, potentially through free agency with bigger contracts, and provides backup should Tyrod Taylor lose his job. Then Justin Herbert obviously is the handcuff and will be his quarterback for the next 4 years. Moving on to pick number 6 with the New Orleans Saints, I have them taking Jonathan Taylor. Again, there wasn't much for running backs here on the team, really anything. And while Taylor will probably be in a timeshare, he's the next best running back, and from what I remember in last year's draft, offense rules early unless there's an absolutely amazing defensive player and you have a need there. So to me, Taylor was the next best option for the Saints. Pick number 7, again, the Kansas City Chiefs. I went with Henry Ruggs at wide receiver. They are thin at wide receiver. It's Michael Crabtree, who I think is out of the league right now. Will Fuller, who's always getting hurt. Can't trust him. They do have Mike Williams, but I figured picking the surefire #1 option in the Raiders offense, he should get some volume, and he's the clear-cut starter there. So I figured that adding that to his wide receiver room would be the best point differential in adding points. Pick #8, the New York Jets. I have them taking Chase Young. Yes, it's early, but Chase Young could be a 250-point type defensive end player. Jets don't have too many needs at the offensive skill position, and this just seemed like a need meeting the best player available. I'm looking now to see who they had. They really have nobody at defensive end, so they could he could really use some help there, and this would provide him with a solid player to build around for a long time to come. Pick #9 for the Atlanta Falcons. I have them taking DeAndre Swift. This one, again, he's probably going to be in a timeshare to a certain extent, and the Lions just can't seem to figure out how to use a running back. So that's why I have him falling so far. He should still get some good points, and maybe next year he does even better. So this seemed like a good landing spot for him, and the Falcons need the help. #10 was San Francisco 49ers. To me, Isaiah Simmons is another player who could easily reach that 250-point mark, and defense wins championships, in my opinion. The 49ers have a decent set of wide receivers. They've got a decent running back room. Potential at tight end. They could use another one, but this is obviously way early. But, he's got Myles Garrett at defensive end, and then not too much at the linebacker position. So this would give him another solid cog in that front seven to help build the team around. Pick 11, the Houston Texans. I have them picking Jerry Jeudy. And I think this is Laura's team, and she really needs help at the wide receiver position. So this just made sense to me. She's already got a running back, but her wide receivers are in need of some help. So to me, Jerry Jeudy, while he's probably the #2 option in Denver, at least to begin with, he's probably going to get the next best volume out of the wide receivers, in my opinion. There should be a lot of shootouts. They play Kansas City twice. Oakland might be opening it up again this year. So they should need to throw the ball a lot. Next, we have the San Francisco 49ers again. And again, needs help on that defense. And Javon Kinlaw could be like an Aaron Donald type player in a couple of years. I know he still has some growing to do, but on a 49ers defense, 49er to a 49er here, on a 49ers defense that has success getting after the quarterback, he could be in for a great rookie year. Next, we have the Washington Redskins again, and I have him doubling up on running backs. Now, Dobbins, again, another timeshare, but by next year, I am projecting that he'll have Mark Ingram's job. So, you're talking getting the majority of the carries, especially if they're blowing teams out towards the end of the game. He's going to be out there for the tough yards and probably for the goal line situations, so he'll be a touchdown vulture. So I see a lot of value in this pick, especially at this pick in the draft. Next, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they need a wide receiver. So Justin Jefferson was my pick for them. He's not, the biggest name out there, the sexiest name out there, but the Vikings have a clear void at wide receiver, and Justin Jefferson was picked to fill that. So I feel like the volume will help make up for lack of brand name talent there. Next is the stocked Rams again. And one of the weak points on Frank's team is defensive end. So I have him taking the next best defensive end, Galavin Chaisson, who's with the Jaguars. I didn't feel bad about this pick because of, what's his name? The young guy who's with the Jaguars now, Josh Allen. Not the quarterback Josh Allen, the other Josh Allen, who was the third defensive end and still was a runner-up for Defensive Rookie of the Year behind Nick Bosa. So I feel like even if Ngakoue stays, Chaisson should get plenty of opportunities to rush the passer and be a very solid player. Pick number 16 for the Buffalo Bills, I have Kenneth Murray, linebacker for the Chargers. He needs some help at the linebacker position, and Murray should be a plug-and-play, chase them all over the place tackling machine. So I figured that this was a good place for him to go, considering Devin White and Deion Bush both went around pick number 10, I think, 9 and 10 or 10 and 11, something like that last year. So this pick made sense to me. Number 17 is the Baltimore Ravens. That's me. And I need wide receiver help. I need help all over the place on offense. I put CD Lamb here mostly because of the name brand. I know he's the number 3 guy with the Cowboys. But at this point, it's kind of a crapshoot about which wide receiver to take. There's other receivers in better positions to have volume, but they're not as talented as CD Lamb. So if CD Lamb were here at number 17, I could see myself grabbing him and being very happy with that for the future. Maybe not the greatest quantity this year, but maybe next year in that McCarthy offense. The Packers, when McCarthy was there, had 3 viable starting wide receivers in fantasy football every year. So he might not blow the ceiling away with his production, but he should be solid. Number 18, the Redskins again, and he needs help at wide receiver. So I chose Jalen Reagor, who's now with the Eagles. Reagor's probably going to play third fiddle here this year, but he's basically the replacement for Deshaun Jackson, who's getting older and older and older, and was hurt all last year. So Reagor at worst is a third receiver and has the upside to be the number 2 guy next year. So it's kind of an investment pick for me, building for the future. Pick number 19, Dallas Cowboys. I'd have them taking Brandon Ayuk for the 49ers. I felt kind of tough giving this wide receiver to them because they also have Deebo Samuel on their team. So bye weeks, kind of tough. And they kind of steal touches away from each other. But I felt like he was the best wide receiver, and the Cowboys needed one. So it was kind of a need pick on this one. Pick number 20, Denver Broncos. Again, they need a wide receiver. To me, T. Higgins made sense here. He might end up having to learn this year behind A.J. Green and Auden Tate. But I think he's more talented than Auden Tate, and A.J. Green hasn't been able to stay healthy. So there's the high possibility that the chemistry built between Burrows and Higgins could vault him to the top of the class. Pick number 21, Pittsburgh Steelers. I have them taking Derek Brown, defensive tackle for the Panthers. I just felt like this was taking the best upside at this point. I'm just checking their roster here. It was tough because wide receivers were kind of gone, and they're actually pretty stocked at wide receiver. I think he doesn't have a quarterback, but there wasn't a quarterback at this point to give him. He needs a tight end, and I felt that was kind of early. So when I was looking at his defensive tackle position, he's pretty barren. So I felt like giving him a tackling machine with pass rush potential could be the way to go here. And Derek Brown could hit that 150, maybe 200 if he turns himself into a good pass rusher. There's a lot of beef on that Panthers defense now, so they could be pretty good. Moving on to the New England Patriots, I have them taking Michael Pittman, wide receiver, Colts. The Patriots need wide receivers, and again, it's kind of a crapshoot about which one's going to go where. But Phillip Rivers likes those big wide receivers and likes to throw the ball. They do have Mack and Jonathan Taylor now to run the ball, but Rivers is still going to throw it, and Pittman has the chance to be the number 2 guy there. And potentially could learn enough from Hilton to become the number 1. So it seems like a good investment pick for me. Number 23, Seattle Seahawks. I have another Panther going to them, Yetur Gross-Matos. They are rather thin at defensive end, just like the Seahawks are in real life. And so this seemed like a decent place for this guy to go. There's a lot of hype about who he could become. So again, this might be more of an investment pick rather than a quick return pick, but you're in a really tough division, Seattle, so it seemed like a good investment pick for potentially the future, because Frank should rule that division. So try and catch up. Defense wins championships. Go get them. Number 24, we've got the Broncos again. Laviska Shenault, wide receiver for the Jaguars. Again, running out of wide receivers to give in the first round. Shenault could be the number 2 there with the Jags now that who was it that they shipped out? Was it Marquez Lee? Something like that. So he should get his opportunities, and with Minshew Mania hanging out there, anything can happen. We've got the Los Angeles Rams again. Who the heck traded all these picks to a loaded Rams team, I want to know. Van Jefferson, wide receiver, who's a Ram going to the Rams. Rich get richer. Greg could use a little boost maybe at wide receiver, and Van Jefferson could be a decent complement to what he already has. Now with Brandon Cooks being gone, it opens up some targets, and there's a lot of hype about how good Van Jefferson could be. Number 6 is the Cowboys again. 26, sorry, it's the Dallas Cowboys. I have them taking Patrick Queen, who I really think could be a steal if he falls to this pick. You're talking around a 2 to 250 point player, in my opinion. And if you can get a core linebacker like that at a decent price for 3 or 4 years, that's really going to help you, especially in that loaded NFC. Number 27, the Cincinnati Bengals are on the clock for the first time, and basically they need help with all capital letters. So with the new GM taking over, I was looking for young foundational players that you can build around for years to come. And to me, Denzel Mims is a value pick here because he should be the number 1 option in that Jets offense. Darnold should have more time to throw this year with the reworked offensive line. And while Mims is a work in progress, an investment in him for the future, you should get some decent returns on him this year, and I could see him turning into a superstar in the coming years if he works on his craft. So I felt like this was a good pick to begin the Bengals rebuild. Jacksonville Jaguars. Now we're getting into some players that I might push towards the second round, but they need help on defense, and this just felt like a safe pick. Not necessarily a great pick, just a safe pick. I thought about a couple other guys, but with the virus causing all these problems, I think Epenesa's in a good position to succeed now. You know, he's not the most athletically gifted player, but he works his butt off. And even if he doesn't get a good grasp of the playbook, just his sheer work ethic and go get 'em attitude should get him playing time that should immediately help the Jaguars defense. Pick number 29, the New York Jets. Here I saw that there was some weakness in the cornerback position and at safety. And I felt like this was a good, safe pick. Again, because either way that he gets designated with the Buccaneers, Winfield could play corner and be a great corner, or he could play a safety, kind of like a Tyrann Mathieu hybrid type player. And I think he could have a humongous impact in that pass-happy NFC South. So it might be a little high for him, but I just felt like this was a win-win because no matter what position he gets put at on the MFL, he's still going to be able to contribute to the Jets roster. Pick number 30 is the Houston Texans again. She's thin there at safety, and I felt like McKinney's probably the best safety out there, and I felt like he was a good foundational pick for that back end that can help her compete well into the future. Cincinnati Bengals get to pick again, and with their second pick, it's Jordan Brooks, linebacker, Seahawks. Now, some people thought that Brooks might have been the best linebacker in this year's draft class, so he's obviously got some talent. And again, I was looking for young, foundational players that the Bengals can build around on either side of the ball to build success for later. And Jordan Brooks seems like a tackling machine who could easily hit that 200-point mark. And, you know, building a good core back there could really make that defense a point maker for you. So I felt good about this pick. And for the last pick of the 2020 MFL mock draft, I have Jeff Okudah going to the Atlanta Falcons. His cornerback room is a little bit of a mess, and Okudah's just too talented to fall out of the first round. He's the only true cornerback in this first round that I have going, and I feel like with Desmond Trufant being on the other side, that quarterbacks are going to start picking on Okudah early to see if he's really, you know, to see just how good he is. So, you know, I feel like he could get some nice production, especially early in the year. And for the next 4 years, he could easily be in that top cornerback category as far as points. All right, guys, so there you have it. If you like it, drop me a like maybe. And I'm open to criticism and suggestions. And hopefully I didn't give any of your guys' secret strategies away here. Take it easy, guys. We'll talk again soon.